You are listening to iFanboy Pick of the Week number 1012, 1012, 1012.
It doesn't roll off the tongue like the three-digit number.
Mille douze.
Yeah.
I am Josh Flanagan. This is my co-host Connor Kilpatrick.
Hello, everyone.
We struggle with the pronunciation of with speaking 4-digit numbers out loud.
That's
what we've learned in these last 12 weeks. This is our comic book show. We talk about.
Is this why they renumber?
I mean, no, because you don't have to say those out loud. That wasn't a thing until recently.
That's true.
No one knew how to pronounce anything in comics. And it was great. And then we came along, and everyone's like, "You said their name wrong." Like,
do you remember that first year? That's the most common email we got was, "You mispronounced this guy's name." Oh, really?
How would
I? In my head, for 100 years, it's been this way.
Imagine if that was now, because we were not awash in the many peoples of the world. They were all just like Dave Blonstein before, and now it's just everyone in Italy and Malaysia. I'm not complaining about that. I want to make that clear. It's just they have
they're more fun to say.
Sure, absolutely. This is a comic book show. Maybe I said we talk about the books. We talk about the issues that come out this week that we're talking about. So, for example, this show comes out on
the 8th.
On the 8th, which means that the comic books we're talking about, for the most part, came out on the 4th. You see, that's how it works. The thing is, we read a bunch of them. We pick, one of us has the job, it alternates, of picking the very best comic book that we read that week. We call that the pick of the week. You will note we begin the show by talking about that for approximately 10 minutes. And then we talk about the other books, and then we will talk about, we may have emails. There will be a patron power. There will be a patron pick review. What is that? You'll have to stick around to find out. It is a good time. There will be spoilers, not egregious, but it could happen. If you have not read the books on the rundown, it's up to you, buddy. You take care of that. Connor, you had the pick, and thank goodness for it.
I did. It wasn't a super great week, unlike last week, which was awesome. And that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the pick, which was Absolute Superman 16 from Jason Aaron, Juan Ferreira, and Becca Carey. This was the only
burgeoning superstar Juan Ferreira.
Oh, for sure. But this was the only book I read where there were books I thought were fine, like I enjoyed. We'll talk about some of them. But this is the only book I read where I was like, wow, that was really fun and good. And unlike last week where there was like 10 of those. But right away, when you look at the cover, it's bright orange and there's some red and other blue, but it's a very bright and striking cover. And I still think about how the first, I don't know, was it 13 issues of this? Well, certainly not badly drawn or colored. Was a really dark sort of morass. Like the story was dark, the art was dark, and we liked it. We gave it several picks of the week. It was our co-book of the year by the numbers last year. But I talked about this on the first issue that Juan Ferreira came on, and then we finally made it to the second arc, which is that this storyline really feels like the start of this book. There was a lot with the Lazarus Corps in the first arc. There was a lot of learning about Clark's life on Krypton or Cal's life on Krypton. And now here we're finally sort of in the world with Superman. And this really feels like the book is now moving forward for the first time.
Mm-hmm. What's funny is that at the beginning of that story, we have like Lois is in the Lazarus Corps and Jimmy's in the whatever they are, and it took like 15 issues that they're both what they are in the regular universe. Now they go and get jobs at the newspaper.
It feels a lot like when I graduated college. I was crashing on my buddy's couch, and I crashed there for about a month until we ran out of money, and we were like, I guess we should get jobs. And he went down. We both studied television. And he went down and got a job. And he called me. He was like, I just went to this place and got a job. You should do it too. And I went, okay. And I went down there and I got a job there too. Like, that's just like Lois and Jimmy do here. We'll get to Lois and Jimmy in a second, though. But really, I love Hawkman. Just my growing up in the reading Bronze Age comics, and he was always in the Justice League. And I love that Hawkman's an asshole. I think you have to have assholes. We had this conversation, I guess, last week with Ryan, or maybe it was in the after show about assholes. Was that in the after show?
I have no recollection, but
talking about Guy Gardner.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And sometimes heroes are assholes, and I like that Hawkman is one. And I like that he is not like every other character. And I like that he's a contrarian. I like he's a little conservative. I like that his views don't necessarily mix with the other heroes. And here he's just a stubborn jerk trying to get Superman to understand where he's coming from. Superman just does not care. And I thought that was a really interesting dynamic from the two of them.
I did wonder. I don't actually. I feel like I haven't actually read that much with Hawkman in it, and everything I have has been so disjointed. So I liked that they had a very clear origin here.
Yes.
Of I think this is the standard one. Egyptologist, archaeologist touches the thing in the tomb, gets the wings. Right. We're off.
And here the only real difference is it's a mix of ancient Egypt plus Thanagar, but essentially it's Carter Hall.
That works. That's fine.
Yeah, that's totally fine. This is actually really nicely streamlined origin, which they should just use.
Yes, exactly. What I did wonder though, so in the beginning, like in the first part, like he just seems like a regular old archaeologist, and he's into it. And then his friend goes Nazi, or at least goes for the Nazi gold. By the way, look at his face. Of course he's evil. And then he's like, I'm one of the good guys. And then he shows up at the end, and I was like, I don't know what happened to that dude between 1940 whatever and today, but he was grizzled.
Yeah, and he's dressed. He's kind of got like a Black Hawk
I saw
uniform on, which is very sort of Nazi-esque. But what I like about him is he's a guy from the 40s. We see Captain America, move to our time and basically act and talk like basically everybody else. But here, he's a bit more conservative. And that culture was a bit more conservative back then. Yep. So, he feels like he's a man out of time, which I really liked the writing on that. And I thought that was interesting. Like he desperately wants to help, not necessarily train Superman, but prepare him in a way that, he says other heroes that came along before him didn't and perished as a result. And he just rattles off a bunch of names that we know, including Oliver Queen, who Iron Monroe, Wesley Dodds, Dr. Fate, Oliver Queen, all of whom, showed up trying to change the world and I guess died. So I guess there's no Oliver Queen in this absolute world.
Yet.
And so I thought that part was all really interesting. And then we got to Lois and Jimmy in Metropolis, who both get jobs at the Daily Planet, which the Daily Planet is not in the Daily Planet building, which has been
in The Wire season 5.
It's been converted to condos. It's in some broken down old building, which my dad worked at the Associated Press. They had a really, really beautiful building in Rockefeller Center. They also moved to a shitty small building.
Right.
This is all true. But we witnessed Perry White leaving.
Perry White slash Jack Kirby
leaving with his box of stuff, saying "Good luck." And I laughed. I thought the text messages from Jimmy were really funny. I thought the progression was funny. And then and then his, hey, what does a Metro desk editor do? Like it just it was funny. And as Hawkman and Superman are fighting through Metropolis, what really got cemented this issue for me was the full page cutaway of the fight. Where Superman punches Hawkman through several buildings and into the subway, but we have cutaways and everything, including the subway car. I thought that was just
he did a shot like this in the Turtles book that him and Jason
did
too. There was a cutaway subway shot in that. So I was like, this is familiar, but it's different. I was like, oh right, it was in that book. And I was happy to see that. It was really cool too. I did during that though, I thought Superman just wrecked a lot of shit and put people in danger. And that's kind of weird because what we're seeing in this issue too is he's constantly taking off to do something.
Right.
He's doing he's doing the Samaritan thing in this. That's an Astro City 1 reference. One of the greatest Superman stories ever.
30 years ago.
Hey, what do you want? And I just thought that was kind of weird that
I'm crying.
A great shot. This little tiny thing that I noticed and I really liked is that it's early, so it's about page 6. The first time that we see Hawkman's face, and he's got the mummy, and his face as it comes out, actually, like it has its own look. He doesn't look like all the other superhero characters that people draw. Like he's got a different thing going on. I'm having a really hard time quantifying it, but for some reason I was like, that face really stands out in some way with his size and his I don't know, the costume works really well. It was interesting.
It's a good costume. And then finally, I had forgotten about Lex Luthor. We had met him briefly early on, but I forgot about that. So the final scene is there's a bald man sitting on a porch talking to a redheaded with a beard, and I forgot. So I was like, "Oh, Lex Luthor," because I looked at the bald man, and that's just my association.
Oh, that's Grant Morrison.
Forgetting that the redhead is Lex Luthor living a very happy, quiet life in Missouri, and this guy's trying to convince him that, don't you feel like, there's something missing and you could be more? He's like, no, I'm really happy. Just, got my family and got my friends and it's all good. And turns out it's Brainiac. And so he becomes Brainiac with a chainsaw arm. He's going to, I guess, kill everyone around Lex to bring the real Lex out. Look, it's all of these Ultimate books, all these Absolute books are obviously darker. This is not the Superman we know, but it's not that much darker than what you read in the regular DC books. At least I think since Juan Ferreira came on. I cannot emphasize enough how much this book has changed since that second arc has started.
There are not a lot of
different book.
There's not a lot of these kind of books that are, prestige, like the important book for the company where they put all the big names on it. And this was the one where it wasn't bad, but the art wasn't a standout. Whereas in the other two books, like them or not, the Hayden Sherman and who's on Batman?
Dracotta?
Yeah, Nick Dracotta. They were, even if it's not your favorite, it's statement art. It says a thing. And the art that was on this book, and I do not remember the person's name, shocking. It was fine. It was good. It looked like art we'd seen. And this, Jason Aaron shines when he works with a great artist. And I know that everybody does, but I think if I think back when he is working with a great artist, somebody he loved, like that's when it really comes out great. And like through the run of Avengers and all the the Marvel stuff, the Marvel stuff doesn't stand out as much because he's not necessarily clicking with somebody. When he does, it makes a huge difference. And you've seen now he's worked with, clearly he's like, I loved working with Juan Ferreira on Turtles, let's bring him over here.
They have chemistry. They have creator chemistry, and sometimes it just happens. It's like co-stars in a movie. And
he had it with Guerra originally. He has it with Mahmoud Asrar. When none of those people have ever done better work than when they're working with each other. That's correct. Asrar's best work has been with Jason Aaron. R.M. Guerra, I mean, he's got a whole lot of work that I probably have never seen, but
and who did Thor?
Corey.
Esad Ribic.
Esad Ribic, yeah. That was
great. My old phone number. I can't. I also think that's really important to note that the coloring here adds a lot to the tone shift in the book. It's a bright book. Look at the cover. The coloring in the book itself looks like that cover. It's bright. It's shiny. This is not a complete tone change, but the way it looks is a subtle tell that things are slightly different now. And it's fun. I
think it's got to be really hard to be a comic book writer.
Sure.
Who, I mean, that's it. That's the end of my sentence. No, who, if you're working in comics, for the most part, mainstream comics, you have a very defined idea of what Superman is, for example. And so you've got to do this dark Superman or whatever. And I just find I feel like maybe there must be like checking themselves all the time. Like, wait, nope, you can't do Superman. It's tricky.
Yeah. You can't do it. You could also make Batman darker. Wonder Woman, the character isn't that dark. She's raised in hell instead of Themyscira, but she's still basically Wonder Woman. Superman, the only downside of the book is they really haven't defined the character, which sounds like it'd be a bigger problem, but what's happening around him is so fun that it's okay at the moment.
I think the absolute world, though, is, and this is what I don't think any of them have really sold on, is that the absolute world is supposed to be darker and more awful with more of Darkseid's Thetans or whatever they call them around. Thank you. And honestly, I don't think any of the books have really gotten that.
No.
Like the villains are different and kind of scary. This is a very menacing Brainiac.
It's really not that much different.
It's not very much different. No, the villains have different origins. That's basically the difference.
And I'll just. I know we're going to move on, but I just want to say what I said I think it was in the after show last week. These are good books. Are they dominating the industry book good? No.
And yet,
none of them. And yet they are, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
Batman number 6 from Matt Fraction, Jorge Jimenez. So 2 things that I wanted to talk about here. One was, so the last issue, number 5, it was the date issue that was terrific, where Batman and Dr. whatever her name was go on a date. Oh, it's Bruce Wayne and her go on a date. And the cliffhanger was that they escape a bunch of assassins and they're on a rooftop. And Damian Robin shows up and he says, "Father." And she goes, "Father? So you think that Bruce's identity has been blown?" Which in a Silver Age twist that I loved, she doesn't assume Bruce is Batman. She assumes Bruce lets his son be Robin, which I didn't even consider as a possibility.
Why would you?
And I just started laughing because, I feel very strongly that you got to buy these things to enjoy superhero comics. You got to buy that. There's no way, who gasses up the Batmobile. You got to buy that the glasses keep people from knowing who Clark Kent is. You got to buy these dumb, awesome things. And one of these things is she doesn't even consider the fact that this super fit guy that she commented on how fit he was and strong,
who she's watched drive like a stunt man and beat up a bunch of people, and
she doesn't even consider that he could be that Batman. She considers that he lets his son be Robin, and I thought that was great. The other thing, which I thought would get much more play, but I've seen no one talking about, is the Tim Drake retires. He retires from being superhero in this issue. He walks away from Robin.
Somewhere,
I thought for sure people would talk about this, but I've seen no one talking about this.
Somewhere, Dan DiDio's going, see, thin the herd.
Of all the Robins, this is one of 2. They could have retired Jason Todd. They could have retired Damian. But this is like the one. Him and Dick. He's crazy.
He is. You believe it because he's the sensible one.
Sure, totally.
Like he's the one he's the least insane person in the Batman family.
Oh, 100%. No,
so
story-wise, it makes sense. I just mean character-wise, company-wise. But yeah, story-wise, it makes total sense. He's the one that says, "You know what? I'm good." But he says this, he retires because he's sick of living a lie with his boyfriend. He doesn't want to have to lie to Bernard anymore. Totally makes sense. Emotionally mature, good, rational decision in the real world. But so he instead of going on a patrol with Bruce, he says, "Actually, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm done," which makes Damian very sad. Damian thinks very deeply, but he doesn't like to admit it. And I thought, again, I thought this was a terrific issue all around.
Bruce gave Damian what I refer to as a bollocking. He dadded the shit out of him, and I was like, wow, I've never seen that in that way. Because whenever he's gotten mad at the Robins or whoever, it's always been "You're not safe out there. You don't know what you're doing. Pack it in." This was dad stuff, and I was like, that's really kind of interesting. We've never seen that. Final question.
Yep.
No idea who it's supposed to be at the end. Who's in the tank?
Who is in the tank?
It's like a
I don't know.
Joker.
It looked like the Joker.
I zoomed in. Like the hairs that are floating around are green. He's got Joker eyes, but that's not the Joker's body that we're used to, obviously. But
yeah, it's interesting. So there's more to this doctor than meets the eye, because she has someone in a Bacta tank in the lab, and someone appears to be a Joker of some type. He's kind of chubby, white-skinned, green-haired person. Yeah, naked. But you're right. I forgot about that Coda scene. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess.
And I know, you have to make it dramatic or whatever, but I was kind of like, just make the lady a normal lady. I did, for whatever reason. I was like, oh, Bruce liked her. They had a thing going. Let him, it was good. I really, I got to tell you, and I don't know why, but the cover makes me happy. And I can't, the cover treatment being so close to the late 80s, 90s logo, that makes me happy. It kind of looks like, honestly, it kind of looks like a Jim Lee drawing there, but I enjoyed it.
No, there's a feel to this. There's a Bronze Age feel to this book, but it's a modern Bronze Age feel, and this was. Well.
I was gonna say this whole thing kind of graphically, visually, it looks like a Tom King book, but I'm like, I don't remember if Matt Fraction did that before Tom King, but there's a lot of
with
that.
All the Iron Fist stuff and everything.
Yeah, but that's Aja, and he's a different kind of thing. Anyway,
well, I think he learned from Aja and moved that to his others. I don't know. This is all supposition. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about more comics. All right, Logan, Black, White, and Blood #2. When I first saw this on the list, we both really enjoyed the first issue, which had Larry Hama's story and it had Dave Wachter's story. I saw the names of this list. It's Benjamin Percy, Robert Gill, Mirko Andolfo, Frank Thierry, Raphael Ianco. And I was like, all right, I'll give it
That's why I didn't read it. So I just was like, I'm not excited about these things.
This was really good. The first story was, I really liked. It would have been right up there with all the ones from the first issue where in 1919 Logan has returned from World War I and he just wants to be alone in the woods because after all the horrors he saw there, and he's hunting deer, and he comes across another pack of wolves, and then he stumbles on the aftermath of a shootout between the Mounties and some bootleggers. Everyone's dead. And this is where he finds Kentucky bourbon for the first time. One of the barrels is leaking, and he tastes it. He's like, "Oh my god, what is this magic elixir?" And finds out it's Kentucky bourbon. There's another shootout. Some other guys show up, and then he just takes one of the barrels and goes home. And now he's got a barrel of Kentucky bourbon in his house. And it was just like a very nicely constructed single short story that is hard to do, and Benjamin Percy pulled it off really well.
Question, Wolverine question. This might be.
Yep.
Does Wolverine get drunk at all?
I think he gets drunk, but it goes away very quickly, just like a wound.
And it's just a subtle moment. Is that what he's going for?
When he gets shot, he doesn't immediately heal up. It takes a while, right? It's a slow heal.
I think it's the severity,
right? But I think the drunkenness is a slow, like you or I would take 12 hours to sober up. He takes 30 minutes. So he's got to constantly be feeding the beast.
Okay, because sometimes I thought he doesn't get drunk, but he just keeps doing it. I don't know.
No, he definitely does. He just sobers up.
I assume it's been differently used over the years, is my guess.
Right.
So,
the second story, he's working a boat that's going from Madripoor to, I guess, America, and it's all very shady. Turns out the guy who's the captain is supposed to be nice is actually trafficking all the people on the boat. So there's a big fight. I thought it was fine. It was enjoyable enough. And then the final story, despite the fact that it featured scalloped claws, they don't come out smooth. They come out with a ridge, which was very strange.
But have you ever cut yourself with a serrated knife? Because there's nothing worse. Well, that's not true now that I know. But
it's actually about sort of a prelude to Secret Invasion. So he and Carol Danvers are on a mission undercover. This is what they're both government operatives and not superheroes, and they ended up stumbling across a Skrull infestation in the government. And then everyone's like, "Oh no, you've just found the one guy. It's all fine." And then you find out that guy is actually a Skrull too. It's sort of like
any chance that's actually happening in the real world. Give me some
possible. Hope. Anything's possible, but it's implied that this is sort of the precursor to Secret Invasion. This was fun. I think these are fun. Cool. I'm going to stick with it. Phil Noto's the next one, so might as well give it a shot. All right, DCKO Boss Battle #1 from Jeremy Adams and a bunch of artists. This is the weirdest comic of the week.
I mean, not even. I maybe could have given this pick of the week just for really surpassing any expectations I may have had about.
Did you know what it was going in?
I had no idea, and so I opened up the book. And I'm like, okay,
I can imagine the page in which you went, oh.
So there was a process. So the reason that I read this, I know that you like books by Jeremy Adams. I don't like or dislike, but I don't tend to go for it. And I was like, all right, I see Carmine Digidomenico's name. I really like his work, so let's go into that. And at the beginning, I was like, all right, this is this boss battle stuff, and then
what's funny about it was that it takes place immediately after the last issue of DCKO, which was the big cliffhanger with the absolute characters. So then they're going at each other. I'm like, they're not going to do it here. And then the whole thing freezes, and this issue takes place in the 3 seconds between the last issue and the fight. So I just want to point out that this was for 1 second, I was like, are we going to have the fight in this issue? Because I didn't really know what was happening here either.
So there's a little fight in the beginning, and it leaves behind 4 challengers.
Right.
And then they're sent off to fight these other people. So you do the first flip, and you see they're fighting Sub-Zero, and there's Liu Kang, And I thought, what a weird time for a Mortal Kombat crossover. And like, it was so out of nowhere. And did people know about this? Like, was this a thing?
People did know about it, yeah. If you read the solicitations.
I'm so glad that I didn't.
No, it makes comics better when you don't know what's coming.
Oh my God. So I'm like, that's just okay. I guess you're going to put Mortal Kombat in there. I accept it. I flip again. Red Sonja. All right. That's kind of interesting. And at this point, I'm thinking, why are they spending all this money licensing shit that this isn't going to pay that money back.
Right.
Moving along. I do not know who Annabelle is. I don't know.
Annabelle is some horror movie character. I don't know Annabelle either.
Okay. Then we get Vampirella. I was like, this is just, what is this? Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It's like, okay, we got a little Archie world going into this. Fine.
And
then you get to Lex Luthor and Samantha Strong, and I just thought, bravo.
Samantha from Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. Yeah.
You magnificent. I was like, what a weird accompaniment to the other ones. Because let's be honest, these books are getting read by people compared to the amount of people who are reading Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees from IDW.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you thought I was confused about the doll girl. People was like, what the fuck is this? Who's
this?
Well,
Lex Luthor stumbles upon her eviscerating a bunny. And she's like, don't worry, I'll get to you. And I was like, oh, geez. And this is actually, well, you can keep going, but this sequence is actually longer than most. I think the only criticism I have of the book is that it felt like it should have been twice as long because we really didn't get to spend a lot of time with the outside characters other than one or two of them.
And Homelander. It just kept going, and I was like, how did they do that? Like, I mean, like, I've worked in the licensing, and I just thought, how did this
pain in the ass
done?
Yeah.
I mean, I assume it was some of the characters, not all of them, but I'm sure Garth Ennis owns Homelander, and then
my assumption is that as part of the licensing deal, and this is just assumption and based on like Josh, both and I worked in licensing for a while, is that we didn't see a lot of the characters because they couldn't just all show up and get their asses kicked by DC characters, right? Like, they're not going to license them all if they all subsume underneath the DC characters. So we saw them fight, but no one really won the fights, and then they separated. So I get why it would have been nicer if it was longer, and you really got to get into it. And I like the fact that Joker and Annabelle don't fight; they just sort of talk. They're both. I mean, I assume she's crazy. I don't know anything about the doll, but you get a little sword fight between Sonja and Wonder Woman. You get a brief fight between the Mortal Kombat characters who I don't know anything about, and Black Lightning and Plastic Man. Then you get a slightly longer sequence, not slightly, but a little bit longer sequence with Samantha Strong and Lex, but nothing with Homelander, nothing with Superman, and there's probably licensing restrictions in some of these things. Oh no, that's not true. There was a punch scene. He punched.
And I mean, just I couldn't tell you. I couldn't really tell you about the story. I don't know what it was, but it was just like
the toy box
as a surprise of bam, 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 bam. I was taken aback, and I was just impressed by. We said this actually in the very beginning when we found out that this was all leading into DCKO. Right. It was just like, all right, lean into this, have fun with it, and this is a perfect example of that thing. And I could
the whole series
from a story standpoint.
Yeah, the whole series is just put the characters together and have them punch each other, and it is what it is. You either like it or you don't. It's not going to be the deepest story you've ever read, but it's a toy box story, and sometimes that's okay.
It was fun because of its just utter surprise. I've never been happier not to read previews or to sort of know anything that's going on, and I don't know if you're at home thinking you should really know about that stuff, and trust me, my reviews of these books are much better without knowing anything about what I'm going into.
And it's better to not know. I don't watch TV previews anymore. When the show ends, I hit stop. I don't watch what's coming up next week. I'd much rather have no knowledge of anything going in. So I try not to watch movie trailers. Like it's just better when the story unfolds before you rather than you knowing what's coming.
Yeah.
Josh is gonna go take a breather for a second. Get himself back together after that excitement. And we'll be back right after this.
Yeah.
Okay. So Nova Centurion number 4. Nova fights Lando Calrissian. Apparently.
That's not what I mean. Sort of Lando Calrissian, but also kind of like Shaft. I saw the character in the front. And I was like, I don't know if I know who this character is, but that looks like to me like a blaxploitation character. And then the first page, it's a blaxploitation type character. And then I went back and I was like, I saw Jed McKay, who writes 70% of Marvel, I think. And I thought, are you allowed to do this? Because he really he did. Yeah, he was doing Billy D. Williams for the most part.
It was Billy D. Williams. I like also that the Matteo Delafonte art looked a lot like Stuart Eminem during one stage of his career. He had many stages of his career. I liked this art a lot. Matteo was splitting time with another artist before this, and I didn't love the other artist as much. I really liked the way this book looked a lot. I hope Matteo stays on.
I had just finished Avengers, which we are not talking about on the main show here, and I was not happy. And so I got to this, and I start reading it, and I was like, "How does there one book that I don't?" And then this book, and it's not. I'd have a hard time telling you why. I enjoy the shit out of it, and I have each time they've been. And I don't know, like whatever they're doing with Rich Rider right now. Everything is against your expectations of it, and so like this weird character shows up, and they have that great scene in the beginning where just all the workmen are like, "You want me to do what?" And he's like, "We got to refuel," and you're like, "All right, whatever." And then you realize what it is they're like putting fuel directly into the suit. I
didn't know that you could attach. And it looks like I'm grabbing booze, but you could attach. Things.
You had no idea.
Fuel a ship. I didn't know that was a thing. Was that a thing?
Yeah. I don't think it was, but I think it's a brilliant comic book thing that the whole time those have just been there's a word that I can't think of, but like nozzle receptacles.
Nozzle.
I know.
No, I everything you said I agree with. The Avengers was so bad this week, and this was so much fun, and I don't understand how it's the same person writing it. But...
And you know what this book had, which it I think hasn't, that I can remember, he got to human rocket. There's a shot where he's like blazing across and everything from the waist down is the rocket. And I was like, how have I not seen this in a long time? Because that's Nova. He's the human rocket. That's the whole thing. And I don't know. It's just like that character is coming back to himself. Like he was kind of down and out. He was Nick Nolte at the beginning. And now he's feeling a little more like his oats. And, he's got a weird cast around him. And yeah.
So in the Imperial miniseries, which led into this book, Nova and Star-Lord were buddies and hanging out, and Star-Lord ends up taking the reins of power in the universe against Nova's advice, and they sort of formed a rift between the two of them. And the final page cliffhanger is the arrival of. Is that how Star-Lord looks, or are we just as king? He's become foppish.
I don't know what he looks like anymore. I don't. I'm honestly like, and this actually I don't think it's the comic's fault. I can't remember really what he looked like before Chris Pratt.
Right.
But he doesn't look like Chris Pratt. That's like he's like a dapper Jesse Landon.
He looks like a fop.
Yeah. Yeah,
but no, you mean Jesse yes. Yes.
Yeah. He's Landry. That's who he is from Friday Night. He's
Plemons.
Yeah. Jess Plemons. He kind of looks like that, but very handsome. But he is kind of still square shaped like that. I get. I mean, whatever though. They said Star-Lord, and so I was like, okay, I know who that is. Like if you showed me him, I wouldn't be able to tell you who that was. But they told me, so it's cool. There's no model for him.
I clicked through too many covers. So the Twilight Zone number 4, after 3, which was I've got to fly.
Miyagi over here.
Yeah, I was yesterday sitting right here. A beetle flew in my face. If it had been the show, everyone would have been very happy about that. Twilight Zone number 4. So last time we had
Patron Pick number 3 by there it goes. This is not a good week for us.
Well, but this is going to come in later with the email. So this is by Nate Powell. This is written, drawn, and a letter by Nate Powell. And you told me to read this because I wasn't going to. And I did. And it did feel much more like a Twilight Zone than the previous issue. But I still thought it felt more like a creep show than a Twilight Zone. It doesn't.
That's what I was getting to. And first of all, I
slightly different.
I'm on the bubble every time, but Nate Powell,
it's great.
It's a great cartoonist. He does important work. But also just like the cartooning in this, I was like, this looks so good in a way that James Stokoe, who did the last one. Who it was? I was trying to open up last week's script as you did it. It had like a different feeling, and it had the structure
of
a Twilight Zone episode much more. But it was also, so this is where I got stuck a little bit, because the structure was there, the narration was there, but contemporary.
Yep.
It wasn't set in the 50s or 60s in my mind like it has to be. It was like, and I don't think that's wrong to set it in a more contemporary setting.
No.
I'm glad not everybody's on cell phones or whatever. And then it ends
Well, they
on kind of
this guy was all like online alpha male.
Yeah, no,
incel.
But so my other thing is I have a bad reaction to on the nose metaphors, basically, because I'm like, okay, we're gonna talk about the incel guys or whatever. But I thought actually that's what the Twilight Zone did with its contemporaneous subjects. So I gotta let that go.
Well, yes and no. Twilight Zone covered it in a veneer of sci-fi so that they could do those stories. Like you couldn't straight up do a racist story, but you could do a story about people being scared of aliens, and that would be it's like Star Trek. It wasn't. What my problem was, not every episode of the Twilight Zone, but most ended with a moral twist or involved a moral lesson. This just put all the characters in a bad place.
I didn't. I was
more a creep show than Twilight Zone.
I was going with it, but I thought he didn't stick the landing. I was like, I don't understand what the point was. They had some point. It was almost it was almost too many things. I really, really wanted to like it. I liked it much more than issue 3, and I thought that it made me think about it a lot in a good way. I was like, does this work or not?
It's beautiful. I'm scrolling through these pages, and it's gorgeous, and the cartooning is wonderful, and the characters are really well defined physically, and you never not know who you're looking at. But
and then like they're like the husband guy, it's just he's over this shit.
It's about a twin brother and sister who are. And the sister's brother husband on this boat. They rented a boat. It's a houseboat. They're gonna sail on the houseboat. And they're gonna hang out and have a good time.
Because her ne'er-do-well brother finally got himself a job in an apartment.
Yeah.
But he is way into alpha male stuff, and he's a little weenie, and he's resentful about everything.
He's in the manosphere. He's deep in it. But the husband is just like, okay, like I'm just gonna make it through this weekend. Like there's a lot of screaming, but and I've been there, but. It wasn't a bad comic. It just ended. And I thought, well, that didn't really resolve itself in any way. I didn't know what the point of this. No one learned a lesson. No one realized they made a mistake. It's just that the brother is stuck in some sort of alternate fantasy reality where he is like the king of all the alpha males, and the wife and husband.
No, he's not. They don't like him.
No, but like he's living in the land of all the alpha males.
Right. But then now he is the cuck. Or the beta. I don't know. I don't know
what those words mean. And then the couple is in the altar. Like it just ended with them living in separate worlds, separated by this, this hole in the boat that you go swimming through, and it just didn't tell me anything at the end. I don't know what the point was.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was fully unsuccessful. I think it was thoughtful to an extent. I enjoyed reading it, even though I believe it was imperfect. That's sort of where I was at. Yeah,
I agree with that.
Also, just like you're not kidding. Like the cartooning is
beautiful,
magnificent. Gorgeous. The entire way through.
Correct.
That would bring us to why we're here. Cold hard cash. No, iFanboy is a listener supported and viewer supported endeavor. Quite honestly, you folks keep things going with your generosity, and we keep things going with this short-term memory problem talkie talk. You can directly support the show and become part of the communities that we have on Discord or Facebook to your taste. You can vote in the Patron Pick. You can get a Patron Power live on this show. You can join the monthly Patron Hangout at $10 or higher. You will get you will get an ad-free version of this show, and you will get this Pick of the Week show 1 day earlier than they are released to the rest of the world, which would be a Saturday as opposed to Sunday. And you will have access to the exclusive iFanboy After Show, where Connor and I continue this conversation, but just for the $10 or higher month patrons, where we talk about the other books that we read this week that didn't make this rundown. And sometimes that's even started to become interesting. There is a discount if you sign up for 1 full year, and you can now send or receive gift memberships, which has happened and is pretty cool. That is patreon.com/iFanboy, patreon.com/iFanboy. There you go. You can go to our merch store at ifanboy.threadless.com. There are 23 designs there to be put on t-shirts, sweatshirts, A-shirts, undershirts, underwear, pretty much all the things that they would print a design on. You can do that there. You can go to ifanboy.com/support. There's a very simple decades old PayPal link. Way to go there if you just feel like you would like to contribute to the show in that way without any of the hassles. iFanboy.com/Amazon is our affiliate link. And if you buy Amazon stuff through there, you go through there, then we get a cut of that, costs you nothing. Very helpful to us, very easy for you. Thank you to those who do. And bookshop.org is a local bookstore aggregator, and where it is possible for us to put links to books that they have available, we will put those. So when we were talking about Booksplode or something like that, that would be, we would love for you to buy books through there. So because we dig that, and we are back to it. Let's talk about Dork #1.
It took me way too long to realize it was dork. You know, like the word dork.
Yeah.
Not,
no,
I kept saying dork.
I know.
Like it was a pause, and I went, "Oh no, it's dork."
Yeah, I was about to read it when I realized that after having added it to the list and seeing it several times. So fair enough. Right. What we have here, and I know you may remember. Actually, no, I think it was the after show. Brett Bean is the artist with Scotty Young for I Hate Fairyland, and the last issue or issue or two, I don't know, has been a different artist, and I thought that's interesting. And then this week I see that the story and art here is by Brett Bean, and the colors are by Jean-Francois Beaulieu, with letters by Nate Picos. For those of you paying attention, that is the rest of the team who work on I Hate Fairyland. And I have a very hard time reviewing this because I believe it is far too close to the book that he was drawing before, and it's not quite as good. And so go ahead.
I know I read it. The story, the basic story is it's a land. There's a map in the first page that looks a lot like Westeros in the shape. Mm-hmm. And there's a scar that runs down the middle. It's called the scar. On one side of the scar is the dark, on one side is the light. And there's orcs on one side, and there's other things on the other side. And this character of Dork is a mythical product of both. He is both dark and light.
Light elf and dark orc or something like that.
He is very, very strong, despite being very, very tiny. And he is prophesized to bring about into the world, I believe.
And he has a shield, and the shield talks and makes fun of him, and
which is
wants
like the sword
to kill.
Babs.
Which is the thing. There is not enough, or like it's kind of original. Funny. There's not enough original in here. It's way too close to the jokey fantasy world of I Hate Fairyland, and I get it if this was the story he had to tell, but it just felt like a not as good I Hate Fairyland, and that's the problem.
He's a terrific artist, Brett Bean. I thought the art was wonderful. There's very and a lot of he's a great penciler. A lot of great work comes from the coloring of Jean-Francois Beaulieu.
Sure,
but so it's as I'm scrolling through it, it's gorgeous. It's a really, I love the colors. It's very bright. It's very poppy, and he's a really good cartoonist. The cartoon there's big action where everything gets sort of canted and stretched out, and he's using great angles and in a way that you think it's like that's like normal, but a lot of artists don't do that stuff, especially in indie books. I'm looking at a page here where it's page 20 in your digital reader, where we're in an overhead angle. Then it's a close up of his bloody hands, and it's a long shot of the characters running away, and back into the hands, but from the reverse angle to seeing what he's seeing. Like it's just very well constructed pages. But yeah, I wasn't that compelled by the story. It was kind of juvenile in a jokey way, or jokey in a juvenile way. Like I said, it felt like a lot of different elements I've seen in other books put all together into one. Fantasy is hard because it's so easy to be, but fantasy's all contrived anyway. It's all based on Tolkien, but you got to really do something interesting and new, like the G. Willow Wilson book.
The thing is, it's not new though, because the little tavern, like it's all this literally looks exactly like I Hate Fairyland, exactly with the same. It's supposed to have the same sort of jokey tone.
Right.
It like they have a fight in a tavern, and you've got the same colorist and the same letterer.
Yep.
And I think that he needed to step farther afield from this in order to make a mark, because this just feels like a fill-in issue or a backup issue. Like this sounds like a backup story that somebody would come along to do in I Hate Fairyland, and so it doesn't stand on its own, unfortunately.
What's interesting is it almost feels like, in a way, and this is just my brain at work, that I Hate Fairyland was at Marvel, and this is Brett Bean going to Image and starting Image and doing just a variation of what he was doing at Marvel. Like all those Image books, the first round for the most part, were just copies of what they were doing at Marvel.
Sure.
And this feels like a copy of. I mean, I don't read it anymore, so you're much more of an expert on this than I do. But it feels like he's just doing what he did before, but on his own instead of.
I would compare it to this. This is like as if Rob Guillory left Chew and then wrote and drew a book that looked exactly like Chew and was about food and superpowers. That's what it feels like. And you'll note that when Rob Guillory went to do his own book, it could not have been less Chew-like, other than the fact that it's the same cartoonist. And that was a really
even got
smart
rid of the
choice.
jokes. Yeah,
right. And I think Brett Bean could have. I think the story, like you might have this story, but I think it was a bad first move.
And I think you're right in that it's hard to fully review this without knowing all those things. So if someone's never read I Hate Fairyland, they might really like this.
Perhaps.
And I haven't read it in years, and my thoughts on it weren't really based on that because I didn't realize I don't think I was there when he was drawing it, but it just felt like okay, it's a fantasy comic that's got some fun stuff to it. It's got really great art, but the story wasn't that compelling. And it wasn't a bad comic by any means.
It wasn't. It's just like the script was fine, and it was very familiar. And this is me. I'm gonna start some shit here, but I did notice. This is totally speculation. There's the cover gallery in the back. You got a cover from Brett Bean, Jorge Corona, Jason Howard, Ryan Stegman, Ryan Otley. You telling your boy Scotty can't do a cover for you? Ooh. It's gonna triple your sales. There's no Scotty cover here. That's weird.
Scotty doesn't like to draw anymore.
A cover?
Yeah, I know. That's a Ryan. I didn't even look at these. That's a Ryan Otley cover if I've ever seen one.
Oh yeah, no, it's gorgeous.
They're all great. Yeah. Jorge Corona one's really nice.
Yeah, I just thought it was like
Ryan Otley cover.
Wow, that's weird. Like
there's an eyeball that's the
first thing I would do.
Long bit of viscera to an eye socket. Yep. All right, those are the books we wanted to talk about. But at patreon.com/iFanboy, every patron gets a vote to add a book to the rundown. And the second place book this week was Dork. I like Dork better, but it's like Bjork. This week's winner was Thundarr The Barbarian from Dynamite Entertainment, written by Jason Aaron. Oh, he had the patron pick and the pick of the week this week. Ooh. Art by Huber Ball, colors by Jorge Sutil, letters by Taylor Esposito, and a wonderful cover by Michael Cho.
Yeah. So I did not know about this. My friend was like, "What's up with this?" And I was like, "Oh shit, that's Jason Aaron." But the first thing I noticed, and it was in a little tiny thumbnail, and I go, and that's Michael Cho. That is Michael Cho saying, "Here's some Darwin and here's some Kirby." And I was like, "That's perfect. That's exactly what that should be." Great.
Michael Cho is really great. Did
you know about this?
I think I had heard this was happening, but I'd forgotten about it. And then when I saw it was in the voting, it was in the running. I looked at it. I was like, oh, okay, it's Jason Aaron. That's it. It's Jason Aaron's parade of childhood IP continues as he goes from DuckTales to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Thundarr The Barbarian.
And the key here is that there's a lot of guys out there, and they were up here, and then when they're not as much, they're like, okay, I'll do some licensed shit.
Right.
I don't know if Absolute Superman is the best-selling book in comics, but it's near. So
it's selling really well, yeah.
Right. So this is choice. This is not like Download's luck, Jason Aaron choice. 100%.
So I guess my question for you to start this off is: do you have any relationship to Thundarr The Barbarian, who, by the way, came out a year before He-Man and looks exactly like He-Man?
He's part of that Hanna-Barbera type stuff in that era, and I feel like I had seen images of it, and I thought that looks kind of cool, but I never saw it. I feel like it maybe was a little before our time.
It was early 80s, like 80, 81. So
and Jason Aaron's a little older than us, so that makes sense.
By the way, who would you like to guess who created Thundarr The Barbarian?
Is it Toth?
Steve Gerber.
Yeah, nice.
Would you like to
Steve Gerber of Howard the Duck fame?
Yes. Would you like to hear some of the names that wrote on Thundarr The Barbarian?
I know, given what it looks like and the era, that I'm going to know a lot of these names. I know that much.
Martin Pascoe, Mark Evanier, Steve Gerber, Roy Thomas, Jacob Kurtzberg. So this was all very much in the early 80s.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crossover between comics and cartoons at that point in time. But I never seen an episode of Thundarr. It only ran 2 seasons.
I don't think I
from
have
80
either.
to 81. And then the next year, He-Man came out and blew it out of the water.
Right.
But he looks exactly like He-Man.
Yes.
Exactly like He-Man. We're not going to get into that. But so I had no expectations. I didn't know anything about Thundarr the Barbarian. It's vaguely...
So wait. Seems... By the way, it looks exactly like He-Man. Came out afterwards. He-Man show created by J. Michael Straczynski. Moving along.
So, was it really the cartoon? This had a lot of shades.
Creative force behind it
of Commandy, like the last.
Oh yeah. I actually really thought there was a chance that Jack Kirby had something to do with this because he had worked on this kind of stuff at the late 70s and stuff.
Well,
Evanier is his assistant, so
he was in the Community, so who knows? But in this world, there's been some cataclysm where a rogue planet came between Earth and the Moon and fucked it all up, and so now it's a post-apocalypse, and much like Planet of the Apes, much like Commandy, all the animals are in charge. The humans are chattel, and I
was like, is there human slavery in the cartoon? Because
but sure. I mean, I think in the 80s there was that kind of thing.
Yeah,
it was more sci-fi. I don't know. I have no idea. But Thundarr is he's a barbarian.
A barbarian.
He's got a sword. He's got a attractive female sidekick. He's got a monster sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
There was interesting things here where he seems to be working undercover. He's part of the slave auction where when he's bought, he ends up, inciting a riot, or not a riot, but he inciting his fellow slaves to free themselves. But then the ending is like, it's either a flashback to when he was a slave, or it implies that the first part was all a fantasy. And I don't know the answer to that question. And I don't know if I'm going to ever know.
That's a telling statement. I'm wrong. Straczynski was on He-Man and the Masters Universe. He wrote a spec script and then got hired on it. However, I remember very early seeing him speak in San Diego, and from that, I definitely got the idea that he'd created something about it. But who knows? He did work on it.
Maybe it was Ortho.
Ortho?
Maybe it was Ortho. He created
It's
Ortho.
Possible. Orko.
Ortho was Beetlejuice.
That was.
So what did you think? Otho. Where's Ortho? Orthodontist.
There is now. Well, he's the guy I went to last week to talk to about my shoulder.
That's true.
I don't know what to think. I don't think that it was badly done. I didn't find myself very interested in it. I like at the end. First of all, I didn't like. It wasn't like tickling any of my, other than the style, any of my nostalgia or anything like that. I didn't care. Ultimately, like I was like, this is competently done. I think the arts. There's a couple of points where I thought there's a shot in the beginning, where they pull back and they're clearly in like New York City and it's flooded and whatever, and I see the city all around them, and I was like, that's awesome. That's a great shot. However, then my brain starts going because at the beginning it says
it's Chicago,
wherever the Earth ended 2,000 years ago, and I was like, all this stuff's in real good condition.
Yeah, all this shit's gone.
Those cars just look like they were parked there. And I was like, all that shit rusts and melts. The only thing left would be the pile of the plastic parts.
Those motorcycles are not running.
That was the point that I was like, those are just vintage motorcycles. How are
those tires those tires have rotted?
Yes.
Yes.
There's a lot of that.
So first of all, I was pleasantly surprised that Huber Ball was a good artist, like a competent storyteller. Whereas usually with Dynamite, you pays your money for the writer and the cover artist. And so I saw Michael Cho, and I was like, well, we're in for it. And then I said, no, okay. It's actually...
there really was some, I was like, oh, there's like really nice composition and just exciting shots. Yeah.
And I thought it was well done for, it's a very familiar story, much like Dork. It's just like, God, he's He-Man. I mean, he's got a page boy haircut and he's got a loincloth and it's just
got a magic sword.
Like it's just He-Man, Tila. But it is what it was. It's just I think because I also read Planet of the Apes this week, the Planet of the Apes book, that like it's like a lot of this sort of very same setup of And that's what the early 80s toy stuff was. They just ripped off other ideas and made toy lines out of them. And so this is very similar to a lot of other things. And it was well done. You know, the art was good. The story was fine. Like I got it. I thought there was some interesting things. I really like the bit where, you know, they're sold into slavery and they've got to jump in the river to find this piece of thing. And and the one guy who can't swim, you know, after sort of being saved by, I wanted to say He-Man, but Thundarr, comes out. He's like, I found it. Like, it was a really nice beat. I thought was really nice. But,
yeah,
you know, ultimately, I don't have any nostalgia pull for this. And so I think that's part of the fun of it. I'm sure Jason Aaron's enjoying it. You know, it was fine. It was good.
I mean, if I had to think about it in terms of like a Dynamite book, the books, there's like different versions. There's some things that are a nostalgia one. You go to read it and you're like, I got nothing here. I think it was Speed Racer that, or it was something else. But either way, they've done things like that where you're just like, okay. Then there was, to me, like the top of it was when they did the lady Red Sonja.
Yep.
And it was Mark Russell, and it was like it brought a bunch of stuff that was unexpected and was really interesting and funny. And then there's the ones that are like, okay. And if you like the thing, you'll probably enjoy it.
Yeah.
But this was one of those. It was okay. And you know, Jason Aaron is not the first superstar writer to do one of these, and you're like, it's fine. I think Jeff Parker, who I miss in comics terribly, did a bunch of these, and they were pretty good. They were okay. You know, like
I want to correct myself. I missed a caption. So the part at the end is not a fantasy, or the first part's not a fantasy. It is a flashback to the past when he was Maximus Decimus Meridius. So there's a lot of things here. There's just throwing them in the pot, and that's fine. You that's how a lot of stories are written. But I really do think reading Planet of the Apes this week also didn't help this book. God,
I didn't read that one. I mean, we didn't. I mean, like I thought about.
I just mean because it's the same setup where the animals, the humans are slaves. That cover is awesome.
It's so good.
That cover is really awesome. So let's rate Thundarr the Barbarian ratings out of 5. I was in the 3.25 range. That's about right. Sticking with it?
No.
Were you going to read it had it not been the pick?
Yes.
Oh, you were reading it anyway.
As soon as I found out that it existed, it's Jason Aaron. I'm gonna give that a shot. As soon as I found that it existed, which was before, you know, our deadline, I went, I gotta grab that. I'd missed it.
I had not planned on it, but I might have read it.
Would you have if I, you know, like you're like,
if you had said to, I would have done it. But it's also hard to say because right out of the gate Wednesday morning it was leading the voting, so I was like, well, I should probably check it out. So it's hard. It's you know, it's hard to know, but. I might have, but I'm not going to stick with it. Patreon.com/iFanboy. Thanks for being a patron. If you're a patron, you get a vote. Every patron gets a vote. One patron, one vote. But if you get the $5 or higher level, you get a superpower live on the show, like Clinard Hobbs.
Fantastic.
It's a great name. Clinard Hobbs' power is that Clinard can fly. Clinard can only fly as fast as the fastest New Yorker can walk. Regular walking.
That's not bad.
Not power walking, not speed walking. Regular New York walking. Whoever the fastest one is, that's as fast. Do
you do regular New York walking?
In LA, I do.
Because you're a fucking fast walker.
It annoys the fuck out of everybody here.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I try to slow down. When I'm home, forget it. My wife's 2 blocks back. Like, it's just I can't help it. We got places to go.
I'm like a really fast walker in my family, but next to you, I was like, Jesus.
So whoever the fastest person is, that's how fast Clinard can go. So he can fly. All the benefits of flight, but can't go super fast. Can go fast as the fastest New York walker.
Do you get tired? Is it like taxing to fly?
I don't think so. I feel like it's relaxing. Don't you think? Well, I guess this is when you get into comics up wind shear and bugs, and you got to not worry about that stuff.
Like a fast New York walk, you could work up a sweat doing that, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, oh yeah, in the summertime for sure.
Yeah.
But you know, he can still fly. He can still go across the ocean.
I mean,
just slow.
I'd take it.
Take him a while. Take him a
while. Do you
want
to fly? Do you want to fly? Yes, I do. Well, here's the thing: you're only this fast. Well, that's cool. I got that.
You know, when you look at the Google map for how long something will take to walk, you cut that down by 40%. That's pretty much how fast you can fly. It's still a long way to fly to France. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I walk fast enough that when you see the Google estimate, it's going to take most people 10 minutes to walk there. I was like, that's a 6-minute walk.
Yeah, I'm always like, I'm going to beat that. That's not a problem. Clinard Hobbs, thanks for being a patron. Patreon.com/iFanboy. Everyone should join up and be a patron today. Here's the email that I've been waiting for you to read. It relates to what we talked about earlier. Our old friend Jordan Thomas writes in from Valencia, Spain. He says, I've been thinking about this question for a while, but fittingly, I can't remember how long. What finally prompted me to email was Connor on last week's after show saying he's close to dropping Void Rivals because he can't remember what is happening despite finding it a well-done book. I'm a little younger than you guys, but I've already noticed the ravages of time doing its work and my ability to remember what the hell is happening in the comics I read monthly or when I pick up a trade or novel months after having read the previous one in the series. So my question, do you think it's hard for you to keep up with the events in the comics you read as you have to get through so many books every week, making it hard for non-Big Two ongoings to stand out and or retain your interest? I feel like with the Big Two, your experience with the characters can help overcome this.
There's a lot of things that work. I believe, certainly for me, as I've gotten older, there's just too many things that take the priority, and so what you need to remember tends to trump a lot of what you would otherwise remember.
Right.
Additionally, I have to think that there has to there's so much information. We're in a fire hose of information coming at us all the time.
Right.
And I don't think the brain can keep up with a lot of it. And so you prioritize stuff. Usually, but then finally, my third aspect would be that when you read 1 million comic books, it's hard to make them stand out. And it's one thing to be like, I don't remember what happened to this, and then start to read it and go, oh, right. That's fine. That's not a problem. Right. But it's another thing to start reading it and just go, I don't remember anything that happened. And I think that tends to be a fault of oversaturation of story, but also this story lacking in some way that it didn't hook you. There's not a thing. And you're right. Like the knowing of the characters is a hook. It helps you. You get through that thing. But there's plenty of superhero comics that I read, and I know who the characters are, but I was like, well, what's going on here?
The Big Two gives you a base level that you don't get with a non-Big Two book. So the base level, you know who Batman is, you know who Green Arrow is, you know who Hawkeye is, and therefore you've got a foundation to stand on, even if you're a bit iffy on the details. But like with Void Rivals, it's ostensibly a book that sets place in the Transformers world, but I don't know who those characters are that show up, and everyone else dresses the same, and so it's really hard to even know who's talking. Like there's the main guy and the girl from the original arc that were so awesome, and they brought in another guy who dresses exactly like the main guy, and they were both together last issue, and I didn't know who was who and who was saying what. And if I'm reading it in trade, that's the different story. And there was a time, I want to say 15 years ago, where I was trying to read almost everything that wasn't Big Two in trade because I was finding, even when I was 15 years younger than I am now, and my brain was much less smooth. I still found much more enjoyment in these stories, reading them all together, because I didn't have I didn't have to think about, oh, what happened? Even back then, I remember reading Walking Dead trades or Invincible trades and spending the first 10 pages trying to remember what had happened last time. It is what it is. It's when you have these ongoing stories.
But then when it clicks, you go, oh, I remember.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Void Rivals is, I think, actually somewhat specific in that I can tell you why we don't remember stuff. And it's that when they put the masks on, everybody pretty much looks the same. Their names are great space names, but they're not particularly memorable. I know I know them by the shapes. I know like the bigger shape guy, that's that dude's dad. Or is it the girl's dad? I don't know. Like the whole thing about the whole thing about the book is that the two rival races are the same. All right. And so that differentiate, that's a plot point. They're supposed to be different, but they are the same. So now I don't know the difference between them, because one of them's purple and one of them's green. I don't, but also it's not sticking with me. I know the guy's personality and I know the woman's personality. Those are the only things that have stuck.
Right.
If they're together, I can tell them apart. But when they have
that book
armor,
sings when they're together.
I don't
awesome
know
when they're together.
I don't know what Zertronian armor looks. That's the right word, right? There's Zertronian.
I don't know.
Something like that. I don't know what the one race's armor looks like compared to the other one. I in the story, there was the one point where like they had to fight the guy who was a real badass, and he was taking everybody out, and then the Transformer took him down. After that, when we start getting into the so on top of that, what they made it really complicated. Like there's the goddess who lives under the ground, and then there's the other, like none of that stuff sticks, and I don't think that's because my memory's bad. I think because it didn't stick.
There's a lot happening, and you have a lot of details to remember. And you're reading, we're reading 10, 15. I read 19 comics this week, and there's a lot of plot points and characters and storylines. And the really good stuff sticks, and the stuff you're familiar with sticks, and the stuff that's really complicated you're not familiar with doesn't stick. It doesn't mean the book's bad. It just means that your brain can only handle so much input. And this is less of a problem on movies and TVs because you can imprint on the actor.
Yeah.
There's a person you can remember. Oh, that's Pedro Pascal under that mask.
Right.
Who are the other 4 Mandalorians? I don't know, but I know who that guy is. And so, it's different. So comics are unique in that sense, and that there's there's no face to print on. The artists always change, the faces change, and it's a whole problem.
And it's also like I think Void Rivals, and a lot of books have this issue, is that it's genre fiction, and sometimes in genre fiction, it's fun to write it using the tropes. However, when you do, you blur it a little bit, and it's hard to stand out. The thing about that book that was interesting from day one was, hey, there's fucking Transformers here. Every time there's a Transformer in that book, I know what's going on, and I'm happy about it.
But I don't know anything about the Suxors or whatever the names. I just don't know about that part.
Kind of like, at least those, they said, hey, these guys are all exactly the same. I was like, I understand this. That's more interesting. The actual main characters of the rivals across the void, I do not care about them. That's another, like, you just don't care. You don't care. The book's well done. It's beautiful. It's entertaining at times. It's had some cool stuff. But I'm reading it because of a lot of history with Robert Kirkman and how long I've been reading. I trust that guy, but also like everything he does isn't going to be my favorite. If that's the only book you're reading, you're going to be fine. You're going to enjoy it.
And I don't think I'm going to drop the book. I just feel frustrated by it, my own ability to remember.
I know. I haven't thought of dropping it. Like, I'm not mad. I do think
it's. Oh, go ahead. I was going to say it's a big problem with mystery books sometimes, where you've got to remember clues or why something's important later on that isn't referenced again. And so I'm like, wait, why is everybody upset about that guy? And like, wait, all right, 2 issues ago. Like, it's just like those things are hard to do in a serialized comic format these days. And it's slightly age. I think you're talking me out of the age thing, honestly. I was coming into this thing, yeah. But no, you're right. This has been a problem for a long time. There's a little, sure. If you take your drink, there's a dash of age. There's a couple ounces of a lot of comics. There's a splash of you're reading the same trope 100 times. You mix them all together in your shaker, and it's just there's a lot going on in there to remember, and it's a problem. But
I was gonna say, like, I thought, I was like, oh, maybe some ADHD thing I don't know, and which the symptoms like get worse when you're older because you're tired or whatever. But Connor and I are kind of in the same boat on that, and I think it's that for me, like, I remember stuff if it's interesting. I have no problem with that. That's how my brain works. And so an interesting thing happens, even if you like, I look at it and it takes me a second, it clicks. I go, all right, this thing is cool. Right. I don't have trouble with that. I think one thing that indie people do is they want to write their opus, and they write it as if you're going to read the whole thing at once, and you know all the characters as well as they do.
They're ready for the trade.
And yes, but like not even just that. Like, they're too complicated. Again, your superheroes, you have a hook to go on. When you've got a complicated cast of people who are kind of hard to differentiate, and I read one issue of this for 20 pages every month, I'm not going to remember, like there'll be books where you will have seen somebody in issue 2 and then they show up in issue 7, but it's just a dude. And I'm like, I'm not going to remember who that is. Right. I've read about 500 characters minimum in the time since I read that last issue, and you didn't give me anything to remember. I can't do it. And I don't think that's because I'm old. I think it's just too much stuff. Too much stuff.
2 things. One, this is why comics were written the way they were before the modern age, when they were constantly reintroducing characters and who they were and their relationship to everybody else and their powers, because there's a lot going on and you can't be expected to remember 300 characters. So people make fun of it. But that's why characters say, hi, Batman, because there's a lot. 2, this is not just a comics problem. I'm currently reading
Yes,
the 5th book of the Murderbot series. I think that it's the 5th or the 4th. I think it's the 5th, and it's the first novel length. It's 300 pages. The other ones are novellas. The whole series is written as if it's one continuing story, and so they don't reset. I had to read the book on my phone with the wiki open, going, which character is that again? Oh, right, that's from that. And because she doesn't give you, there's no help. It's just like, these are the guys, and they've come and gone throughout the books, but I'm like, and they all have sci-fi names. I'm like, wait, who is that person? I'm like, oh, that's right. They're married to that person. That person's this person from the first book. Great. But it's the same problem as comics. I'm literally reading the book going, I should have no more than what's happening, but I don't, and I'm stupid. Nope. It's just that the author hasn't given you any help. Doesn't mean the book's bad. It's just that's the way it's written, and I have to have a second screen on my fucking book to remember who the characters are.
And
I'm halfway through the book, and
people,
I've got a handle on it now. But the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm lost.
And there are people who remember everything, but like at a certain point, you're just prioritizing either consciously or unconsciously.
Yeah.
It's the trick. You know,
you talked me out of it, Josh. I was like, yeah, we're old, but no, we're not.
I don't
old.
think that's it.
It's the children who are wrong. Well, thanks for writing in, Jordan.
I'll have Armin Tamzarian's copy of Swank.
Contact iFanboy.com is how Jordan wrote in. You can also write in for our Media Explode show. If you want to do that, put Media Explode in the subject line. Thank you very much. We appreciate all the emails that come in. It makes the show fun. That was a great conversation. I enjoyed it. It went in places I wasn't expecting, and that's always the best part. Upcoming shows in February. We have our Media Explode February 12th. We're going to do our 2026 Academy Award picks. We're going to go through the major categories, do our picks, and we're going to align that with our yearly patron Oscars pool, which you can enjoy if you're a patron. We'll post all those links when the show comes out. And then a couple weeks later, February 26th, we'll have our Book Explode show. We're going to be reviewing Life Drawing, a Love and Rockets collection by Jaime Hernandez. That's the newest hardcover, came out last year from the Love and Rockets series. And so we're doing that in February. So check those shows out, coming to you very, very soon.
Very soon.
In the meantime, you can find our library of over 1,500 shows at iFanboy.com or wherever podcasts are sold. And never miss a show and find out what the pick of the week is before the show comes out by following us at iFanboy Comics on Instagram and Threads, at iFanboy.com on Blue Sky, and individually we are CSK Patrick on Instagram and J. Flanagan on Instagram. And as always, don't miss former iFanboy writer Jeff Reed's video deep dives into comic book history. You can find that every Tuesday and Friday across our social channels and on YouTube.
You can consider, please, would you, writing a review or leaving a star rating on the appropriate places from where you listen to, download, watch, whatever the show is. Just taking that little time to sort of make a note of, give it a star rating, write it, I like this show because of this reason. Even to this day, helps because, if all the reviews were 20 years old, then we would probably, no one would ever find us.
The algorithm would execute us.
If you happen to be a person who would like something like this, and I believe you exist out there, and maybe you have not found us, we got to give them a chance. We got to figure out a way to put out a flare at the front of the cave so that they know this might be a place for me. That's what your job is. It's not for me.
We can't help others. You have like to do it.
You can subscribe to youtube.com/iFanboy to watch the video version of this show right here, as well as our special edition shows and Jeff Reed's videos and all the old video shows that we did way back when. When was 2007 to 2012? There's a couple hundred of those.
That was when.
Yep.
That was
it
when.
was when.
Every year it's more when.
And finally, you can join us, Connor and myself, on the iFanboy After Show, which is exclusively on Patreon, the $10 or higher level. We're going to talk about it's this video. We're going to talk about the books that we read this week that we didn't just talk about in the previous hour.
We had a show. Was it last week? We had a 30-minute after show this year. It's the longest we've ever done. So it's a good chunk. It's a nice extra show. We're going to talk about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 books this week. So get ready. It's coming. We'll see you there in a minute. And until next time, I'm Connor.
How was it being not worried about my general health for the next week this week?
It was nice.
No
updates of like, hey, I'm super sick, or hey, I broke something, or hey, I have COVID. You must have had COVID when you were sick.
My wife has COVID. Yeah, no, I think I did. Also, just to be clear, it hurts.
But I did worry about was that you almost had your house fall on your head. So there you go.
That's true.
It's always something with you, Josh.
for people who normally see this shot, there's usually a shelf of Legos back there, and it isn't there anymore. And there's
he was sleeping underneath it.
There's a bin of broken Legos, and building is fun. Rebuilding, not.
Broken Legos and broken dreams.
Yep.
All right. See you next week. I'm Connor.
Josh, thanks.